Stop stretching your legs. I know that sounds shocking, but if you're over 60, stretching weak legs can actually make them more unstable. You think flexibility is the answer, but science says strength signaling is what you've lost, and this simple reset turns it back on. The late Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, one of the most respected longevity physicians in the world, taught that the body never fails suddenly. It whispers first. It sends small functional warnings years before real disability appears. He used to say, "The body is like a bridge. Tiny cracks appear years before collapse." Weak legs are one of those cracks. When leg strength begins to fade, we see predictable consequences. Walking slows. Standing from a chair becomes a negotiation. Balance feels uncertain. And gradually, without realizing it, people begin organizing their lives around what their legs can no longer do. This is how reliance creeps in, not overnight, but step by step. But here's the part most people never hear. Leg weakness is one of the fastest aging signals to respond when you address it correctly. This isn't about vanity or fitness. As Dr. Peter Attia emphasizes, leg strength is survival capacity. It's tightly linked to longevity, resilience, and the ability to recover when life knocks you off balance. Strong legs don't just move you forward, they keep you upright, autonomous, and in control of your environment. And yet, the mainstream advice completely misses this. You're told to walk more, to stay active, to push harder. But for aging legs, that approach often makes no meaningful difference, and sometimes makes things worse. What your legs actually need is not more effort, but the right signal. Today, I'm going to walk you through 4 critical insights every senior needs to understand about leg weakness. And at the end, I'll show you a simple strength reset, not a workout, not a gym routine, that can wake up aging legs faster than traditional exercises ever do. This method works even when walking and gym exercises have failed. Before we go further, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I read every single one. For years, seniors have been reassured that as long as they keep walking, their legs will stay strong. Walking is treated almost like insurance. Miss a few days and you're warned, stay consistent and you'll be protected. It sounds reasonable, it feels safe, and it is only half true. Walking is excellent for circulation. It keeps blood moving, joints lubricated, and the heart engaged. But when it comes to preserving real leg strength, the kind that lets you rise from a chair, catch yourself if you stumble, or climb stairs without hesitation, walking quietly falls short. Inside your legs are different types of muscle fibers with very different jobs. Walking primarily uses endurance fibers, the slow, steady fibers designed to work all day at low intensity. These fibers are not the problem in aging. The real issue is the rapid loss of type 2 fast-twitch fibers, the power fibers responsible for sudden force, stability, and balance. These fibers begin shrinking aggressively after 60, and walking barely speaks to them at all. This is why someone can walk every morning and still feel their legs hesitate when standing up. The biological signal for power is missing. Think of walking like idling a car. The engine is running, fuel is flowing, but horsepower does not return. The system never receives the message to generate force. I've seen this play out countless times. Helen, in her early 70s, walked faithfully every day. Her step count was impressive. Her commitment was unquestionable. Yet rising from a chair became her hardest task. The endurance system was alive, but her power fibers were effectively asleep. When circulation is maintained but strength continues to fade, it creates confusion and frustration. People assume they need more steps, longer walks, or steeper hills, but adding more of the same signal doesn't wake up what's gone quiet. Walking has its place. Blood flow matters, movement matters, but leg strength doesn't respond to mileage. It responds to short, controlled signals that tell the nervous system this muscle is still needed. When that signal is missing, the legs adapt by becoming efficient at moving slowly and unreliable when force is required. This is where most people unknowingly stall. They stay active, yet weaker. They move more, yet trust their legs less. And they assume this is simply how aging works. It isn't. If strong legs mean staying independent, subscribe now so you don't miss what protects them next. When leg strength fades, most people assume the muscle itself has simply wasted away. The picture in their mind is shrinking tissue, thinning legs, and an unavoidable loss of mass. That explanation feels logical, but it's incomplete, and in many cases, it's not even the main issue. What often changes first is not the muscle but the signal traveling to it. As the nervous system ages, the communication between the brain and the muscles becomes less precise. Motor neurons, the wires that tell muscle fibers when and how hard to contract, begin firing more weakly and less consistently. The muscle may still be there, but it no longer receives a clear instruction to engage fully. This creates a strange and unsettling experience. The leg looks capable. It may even test normally on scans, yet it feels unreliable. Strength comes and goes. Balance feels uncertain, especially during transitions like standing up or changing direction. Imagine a lamp with loose wiring. The bulb is intact, the power source exists, but the signal flickers. Sometimes the light turns on, sometimes it doesn't. That's what aging legs experience when neural signaling weakens. George, in his late 60s, was confused by this exact issue. Imaging showed he still had a reasonable amount of muscle mass in his thighs, but functionally, his legs felt unpredictable. Some days they responded, other days they didn't. The problem wasn't absence, it was inconsistency. This disconnect explains why effort alone doesn't restore confidence. Pushing harder through weak signaling often leads to compensation, tension, and fatigue rather than true strength. The nervous system hesitates and the body adapts by moving cautiously. Over time, this uncertainty teaches the brain to trust the legs less. Movements become slower, transitions become guarded. And strength, which depends on confident neural activation, continues to fade, not because the muscle is gone, but because the message is weak. When the signal begins to stabilize, something important happens. The legs feel more present, movements feel deliberate again, and confidence starts to return even before visible changes appear. This is why understanding the nerve-muscle connection is essential. Without it, strength feels elusive. With it, the body remembers how to engage what it already has. When leg weakness refuses to improve, the response is almost always the same. More effort is added. Resistance is increased. Movements are repeated with greater intensity. Strength, after all, has long been defined as something earned through pushing limits. In younger bodies, that approach often works. In aging bodies, it quietly breaks down. After 70, the body's internal priorities shift. Muscles are no longer the first system to respond to stress. Joints, tendons, connective tissue, and balance sensors step in as gatekeepers. They decide how much force is allowed before the muscle ever has a chance to express its strength. This is not a flaw. It is a protective adaptation designed to prevent injury when recovery capacity is reduced. The problem is that traditional strength exercises ignore this shift. Machines, free weights, and repetitive movements place demands on the body that require full cooperation between multiple systems at once. For older adults, those systems rarely agree. A knee tightens before the thigh can fully contract. The ankle stiffens before balance feels secure. The nervous system senses instability and quietly pulls the brakes. From the outside, it looks like effort. From the inside, it feels like resistance without payoff. This is why fatigue is common, while strength gains are not. The muscles are asked to work through joints and tendons that are already cautious. The nervous system responds by limiting output. The result is strain without activation and tension without progress. Over time, this creates a pattern the body remembers. Strength begins to feel unsafe. Movements are approached carefully. The legs learn to cooperate just enough to get through the task, but never enough to rebuild power. This is how people can spend months doing the right exercises and still struggle with the simplest transitions, like standing from a chair or stabilizing after a misstep. Pain often becomes part of the picture, not because the muscles are weak, but because the load is being absorbed by structures that were never meant to carry it alone. Joints take the stress. Tendons protest. The original goal of building strength gets overshadowed by the need to manage discomfort. At that point, many people assume their body is no longer capable of responding. They believe the window for strength has closed. What's actually happened is that the signal has been blocked long before it reached the muscle. Aging changes how strength must be communicated. The nervous system needs clarity before it allows force. It needs stability before it allows tension. When those conditions are missing, no amount of added weight solves the problem. This is why methods that remove momentum and minimize joint strain often succeed where traditional exercises fail. When the body feels safe, it stops guarding. When it stops guarding, Muscles finally receive permission to engage. Strength in this stage of life is not about overpowering the system, it's about working with how the system now protects itself. When that shift is understood, the path forward becomes simpler and far more effective. There is a widespread belief that strength only comes from movement through large ranges. Bending, lifting, pushing, and lowering are seen as essential ingredients. If the body isn't visibly moving, it doesn't feel like real strength work. For aging legs, that belief becomes a major obstacle. What restores strength most efficiently in older adults is not movement, but signal. As the nervous system ages, many motor units go quiet. They are not destroyed, they are simply underused. These dormant units stop responding because the brain no longer sends a clear, confident command. Traditional exercises often fail to reach them because the body is too busy managing balance, joints, and coordination. This is where isometric contractions become uniquely powerful. When a muscle contracts without changing length, the nervous system can focus entirely on activation. There is no need to stabilize motion, absorb impact, or negotiate joint angles. The signal becomes clear, concentrated, and safe. For older legs, this clarity is often enough to wake up fibers that haven't been meaningfully engaged in years. The effect is surprisingly fast. Neural drive improves before muscle size changes. Strength begins to feel more reliable. Movements that once felt uncertain start to feel supported from within. This happens not because the legs are being forced to work harder, but because the communication has been restored. The experience is often described as steadiness returning first. Standing up feels more controlled. Weight shifts feel deliberate instead of hesitant. Balance improves not through practice, but through confidence in activation. It's similar to restarting a frozen computer. Nothing new is added. No hardware is replaced. The system simply reconnects to what was already there. Many people are surprised by how little this approach resembles exercise. There's no strain, no breath holding, no racing heart, yet the internal response is unmistakable. Muscles engage fully. The brain registers success. The legs feel present again. One individual described that within weeks, standing up no longer required planning. The movement felt natural instead of negotiated. No added weights were involved, no machines, just a clear signal delivered consistently. This method works because it respects the priorities of the aging body. It removes joint stress. It eliminates balance demands. It allows the nervous system to approve activation instead of blocking it. Once that approval is restored, strength has room to return. Over time, these simple contractions rebuild trust between the brain and the legs. And trust is the foundation of functional strength. When the body believes it can engage safely, it does. This is why this reset often outperforms traditional workouts. It doesn't compete with the body's protective systems, it aligns with them. And in doing so, it reaches the very mechanism that determines whether strength is expressed or withheld. In older adults, that makes all the difference. Weak legs are often misunderstood as a final stage, a quiet signal that the body has reached its limit. In clinical reality, they are rarely an endpoint. They are information. They tell a story about communication, confidence, and how the body has adapted to years of mixed signals. When that story is interpreted correctly, it changes the future far more often than people expect. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara spent decades emphasizing that aging is not a sudden collapse, but a series of messages sent long before function is lost. He believed the body speaks in subtle language first, slight hesitation when standing, a moment of instability when turning, a growing reluctance to trust the legs. These are not failures. They are early warnings asking for attention rather than force. He often reminded patients that strength returns when the body feels respected, not pushed into compliance. This perspective matters because the way weakness is framed determines how it is addressed. When weak legs are seen as inevitable, they are managed passively. Chairs are chosen carefully, movements are avoided. Life slowly contracts. When they are recognized as a signal, the response becomes active, thoughtful, and precise. The goal shifts from fighting aging to restoring communication. Leg strength occupies a unique place in human aging. It is not just another physical attribute. It is the foundation of balance, mobility, and recovery. Dr. Peter Attia often highlights that this type of strength predicts how long someone maintains independence more reliably than many traditional health markers. Strong legs mean the ability to recover from illness, tolerate stress, and remain upright when the unexpected happens. In that sense, leg strength is not about fitness. It is about survival capacity. There is also a deeply human dimension to this. Strong legs protect dignity. They allow someone to stand without assistance, move through their home without fear, and navigate the world without constantly calculating risk. When leg confidence fades, independence erodes quietly. People stop doing things not because they cannot, but because they no longer trust their bodies to cooperate. That loss of trust often hurts more than the weakness itself. What is frequently overlooked is how adaptable the aging body remains when it feels safe. Many assume improvement requires exhaustion, pain, or relentless effort. In practice, the opposite is often true. When the nervous system senses clarity instead of threat, it allows engagement instead of restriction. Muscles respond not because they are forced, but because they are invited back into use. This is why small, targeted signals can create meaningful change even later in life. Neural systems adapt quickly when the message is consistent and non-threatening. Stability often returns before strength becomes visible. Confidence improves before speed. These changes may appear subtle at first, but they alter how the body moves through every moment of the day. Over time, this shift compounds. Standing up no longer requires planning. Walking feels smoother. Balance corrections happen automatically instead of consciously. These are not dramatic transformations, but they are life-altering. They represent the difference between managing decline and preserving autonomy. It is important to understand that weak legs are not a moral failure, nor a lack of discipline. They are the result of biology responding to years of incomplete or mismatched signals. When those signals are corrected, the body often responds with surprising generosity. Aging does not remove the body's ability to adapt. It changes the conditions under which adaptation occurs. When those conditions are respected, strength has room to return, not as it once was, but as it is needed now. Weak legs do not mean the system is broken. They mean it has been protecting itself, and protection can be recalibrated. When communication is restored, the body begins to cooperate again. Movements feel intentional rather than cautious. Confidence replaces hesitation. Independence feels attainable rather than fragile.